Kevin McCullough.
Well, if you have been anywhere near, well, welcome back to Times Square, first of all. Glad to have you with us. It's That Kevin Show. Kevin McCullough, glad to have you. If you've been anywhere near the Christmas season in recent years, you've no doubt heard my next guest's riffs and sometimes crunchiness and sometimes soaring solos and everything else. He plays guitar and he does it pretty well. For a little group called the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, he's one of the three co-founders. Al Pittarelli, thank you for being with us. So glad to have you. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, it's gonna be a lot of fun. The Trans-Siberian Orchestra is celebrating a big year this year.
Yeah,
it's the 20th anniversary of the Lost Christmas Eve. You've had 20 million people come see you in concert, and it's 20 years that you guys have been doing this. When you were just starting out there in Joliet, Illinois, did you have any idea that it was going to take you to every major arena on the planet?
No, it's 30 years ago this coming February that I was asked by TSO's founder, Mr. Paul O'Neill, to come to a studio in New York City. And he had this project he was working on, this idea. And he wanted a bit more of a cinematic approach musically from a guitar player than the normal, that person, if you will.
Yeah.
And he knew that I worked with a lot of theatrical styles over the years, a lot of film scoring, a lot of jingle writing. I was Alice Cooper's musical director back in the 80s.
Wow.
He was one of the first artists, I think, to present rock and roll in a theatrical manner.
Gotcha.
So unbeknownst to me at the time, it was almost like I was being handed curriculum to study for the big test that was coming up with me, working for Paul O'Neill. And I remember walking in the studio and him saying, I just want to create great art. I'm not interested in commerce. I don't care about anything else. If we can create a great art form, he'll be happy. And I was like, that's a pretty bold statement. Fine. He put the faders up.
I've known a lot of people in the music business. It's also a little bit of phony baloney, because ultimately, if you don't make money, you can't keep doing what you want to do.
Yeah, well, he had a pretty good career up until then. He's doing a lot of producing, a lot of songwriting. I had a good run of it so far. And this was pretty much a one-off gathering for he and I in the studio just to bring this one song to life, which was to become Christmas Eve Sarajevo 1224. And we finished that session. I'm like, dude, you nailed it. That's amazing. I don't know if anybody's ever going to hear it, because think about what was going on in 1995 music, on the radio.
Right.
But you fast forward to December 95, and it became the #1 requested song in America overnight. We had a hit. And you got a hit on your hands when talk radio's playing it. That's how big this thing got. So I said, well, that was great. We had something on the radio. He goes, yeah, but I'm going to write a record around that one song, and we're going to call it the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. You with me? I'm like, forever, brother. He was my best friend. He's my big brother. And I said, whatever you need, I'll sit in that chair next to you, and let's ride this one out. I didn't think it was going to go 30 years, and who knows how many more years in the future. But like you just said earlier, I feel like Willy Wonka. Somebody bought the 20 millionth ticket recently. Somebody's in possession of that. And what that represents, as Paul said from day one, when we played our first show in Philadelphia, I think it was the Tower Theater back in '99, every ticket sold, he was going to take $1 and put it back in the community.
Oh, wow.
Now, that's who he was as a human. Just an incredible, gracious, loving person. And he goes, we're going to do that forever. You do the math. He did make a change in the world, and I'm very proud of him.
Well, that's one of the things that TSO is known for. You guys have done a lot of philanthropy in addition to your work. I think some people from the music standpoint would say, but it's just a Christmas show. So what do you do the rest of the year?
Get ready for the next Christmas show. It's kind of a year-long process. I mean, we finish up, I'll fly home New Year's Eve day.
Okay.
And then I'll have New Year's Eve or our Christmas Eve with my wife and my daughters. My other sons will fly in, hopefully, and the family will get together New Year's Day for our Christmas Day. And then take a week or two to catch our breath and whatever. And then by mid-January, we're back at the drawing board. It takes all year to figure out how can we make it bigger, better, slicker, sonically, visually, emotionally, the story, what story do we want to do? And, we all get either together at the office in New York City or our studio down in Tampa, or we'll do Zoom conferences and try to scratch our heads. And I always compare it to a Super Bowl team. Kansas City Chiefs won last year. Congratulations, well deserved. You got the ring, you had the party, world champions. I promise you, Andy Reid was thinking about next year, how are we going to do this again? It's not a guarantee. It's never a guarantee that we're going to have a great tour. We try to work really hard all year long to make it just better. Because I have half the audience is what I consider my repeat offenders. They come back every year. I
No,
owe
that's
them
one of the things
a better
that
show.
if you talk to TSO fans, that's one of the things that they make a big point of telling you is that
Yeah.
it's become a Christmas tradition for a lot of people to go. If you've never been, friends, and you're just joining us, it's lots of lasers and lights and all kinds of spectacular visuals, but it's also very melodic arena rock that puts you
Yeah.
in the Christmas mood in a spectacular way. Um, the shows themselves tell stories.
Yeah.
They are, in essence, operas in many respects.
Yeah, exactly.
But there is a magic to them that is not that of Lincoln Center with folded hands and perfect vibrato. What do you attribute the magic of the TSO story to?
There's a wonderful quote I read by Leonard Bernstein not too long ago. Great art should be accessible and not ordinary. So if you put that in Paul O'Neill world, the stories that he'd written over the years were very, very accessible. I can insert my life or my circumstance into Paul's story, and it becomes about me.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing about his stories, nothing about the music, nothing about the show, if you will, is ordinary. And he really balanced that fine line with not being overbearing or too much and not enough. So in one of the sentiments from one of the stories that's one of my favorites is, missing somebody. A teenage girl runs away from home and the father's missing her. He's like frantic. I want my baby girl back, so on and so forth. Somebody passes on in your life. There's always an empty chair at your dining room table.
Mm.
None of us are impervious to that. Unfortunately, that's life. And it seems that you get to the holidays and it's a little more obvious of that empty chair. Or in the case of the lost Christmas Eve, it's never too late to do something positive or to undo something wrong. And everybody can relate to that. So that's why the story, like you said, the opera, like I if I'm listening to an opera, I'm being moved musically, but I haven't got a clue what they're saying in Italian.
Right.
But in this story, everybody's going, oh my God, that just happened to me. And you got 14,000 other people that are sharing in that same
I'm not
sentiment.
crying, you're crying. Al Pitarelli, congratulations on 20th anniversary of Lost Christmas Eve.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.